Hey, well, welcome to the X Podcast. We're excited to have you back with us today. We kind of got the old crew together.
The band's
Can
back.
I say guest? No, because he's former co-host or whatever of the X Podcast. None other than Kevin Illich.
It's great to be back.
Good to have you, man.
How are you guys doing?
It's good. It's been a while.
This just feels good. Can
It
we soak it up?
does. Feels
Very nice.
familiar.
Moment of silence.
Okay,
we're back.
anyway, so we're back. So it's good to have you on here. We just thought we needed to connect and have you on here and talk about what's going on in your life. And I love the concept of kind of what you've stepped into, and that's kind of pulled you away from being able to do this. But I asked a while ago, I was like, dude, we've got to have you back on and talk about it. And so
Yeah, it's been wild. Been a crazy couple months.
What's going on?
6, 7.
Catch us all up in the last couple months.
How many kids now?
Oh, I don't want to talk about it.
Still,
I'm
wait,
just kidding. No.
still just 3?
Just 3.
No.
And a puppy. That was a bad decision.
Oh,
That is a cute.
Yeah,
I could have told
it was
you
a
you
great.
should ask.
it was a-
No.
I think we did talk about it.
No.
But yeah, he's a cutie. But it's been a crazy 8 months since I've been, I think, off staff now.
Yeah.
Only a couple months since I've been away from podcasts. Initially went in to do my own podcast and start my own business and stuff, and so that was going good for a little bit. But out of the blue, there was a great opportunity. I wasn't really looking per se. It's kind of headstrong on what I was doing, but as a part of my whole, my whole launching a business or whatever, I just wanted to get as many people in my life that could help speak into that because I'd never done anything like that before. And so one of the gentlemen that we've known for a while that I had the pleasure to speak with was Scott Thompson. Scott comes here to church and owns Thompson Concrete. That's how most people know him. Great guy. But, I sat down with him and asked him if he would sit down and have lunch with me. So we met over at Harvest Moon. We had a conversation. I said, hey, listen, I'm starting this business. Here's my ideas. I have no clue how this goes, and I'm just trying to surround myself with people that maybe, once a quarter, 3 times a year or whatever, I can, lean on, get some advice. And so that went good, but didn't think much more of it, Sweet guy, offered a lot of advice and took heed to that. And then probably about a month later, this is probably early November, I get a text from Scott, and he said, hey, can you meet me in my office? I'm like, well, sure, absolutely. And we had something kind of get in the way, and he's like, actually, it'd be really helpful if we could reschedule and you read this book first. I'm like, oh, it's very kind, Scott. His book was called The Dream Manager by an author. He's a somewhat popular business author, big in the Catholic sphere too. Just kind of has 2 little prongs to what he does. Matthew Kelly. Okay. Matthew Kelly. And he's been around probably since the early 90s. He's written books like The Rhythm of Life and some different things like that. Life is Messy is one of his most recent ones. And so I read the book, and I didn't really think anything of it. I was like, oh, this is sweet. I just told Scott about my dreams, and he has this book that he sent me about dreams. I'm like, that's so cool. About halfway through the book, I realized that the Dream Manager wasn't really about managing your dreams, but rather it's a book that talks about a role that every business owner should institute at their company. And it was the Dream Manager. I'm like,
so did you start to realize, okay, I see a
I see
subtle
what's
hint.
going on
What
here.
are you getting at?
I see what's going on here. And it was just a really unique opportunity. The more me and Scott got to talking about it. And the premise of the whole idea is that right now, anybody who owns a business understands the turnover rates of employees and employee engagement and how hard it is to find workers.
Yeah.
And really whatever you do. It's not just hard to find supply, it's hard to find the labor to do anything. Everybody's experience across the board. I think labor's gone down like 20% for a multitude of reasons, whether it's immigration's down or people who are used to retire and then still work. Now that's not happening ever since COVID. They're just retiring. They're not coming back into the workforce. There's so many reasons. But companies are waking up and going, we've got to treat our employees differently. We have to do something that's going to make a difference. And so the Dream Manager is really an attempt at its core, it's really the company's attempt to engage employees not just at work but in their lives, right? So it's the short way of saying what a dream manager is it's a life coach. It's a life coach for your work, okay? Or a life coach for your life at work.
At work, I was going to say, it's for life, isn't it? Yeah.
And so the story goes through, and everybody should read the book. It's a great read. It's a quick read. I listened to it on Audible and listened to it in a day because it's just a real fascinating concept, really simple, but really fascinating. And the whole story is about this janitorial company who businesses contracted them out to come and clean spaces like this one or whatever. And just they had the worst turnover. Like they just could not keep people to the point where the owners are having to go and clean because they just didn't have enough people. They couldn't find people. Once they get people, they couldn't keep them. And they somehow or another came in contact with this idea, and it changed everything for them. They started engaging with their employees, not just about a paycheck, and not just about how we do the work, and not just about training, but about, hey, what do you want to accomplish, in your life? And they started having these conversations just by asking people, what's your dream? And, you get the stutter like, I don't know. It's kind of a vulnerable question to ask people. And they hear things like, well, we'd love to own a house one day. We'd love to stop renting. We'd love to pay for our daughter's wedding one day. We'd love to take our family on a vacation for the first time ever as a group. One of the touching stories in there's a guy, he was so reluctant to the whole idea of the dream manager, and one day he writes down, or he goes, he started engaging in the process and met with this company's dream manager, and his only dream was to have a proper Christmas for his kids. And then when they talked about it, it was just, I just want to be able to buy presents for them. And so the concept's it's an interesting one, and it works well in any sphere. Well,
one of the things that I think about that I think it's a concept that you're seeing, like you said, kind of in the business world, is that caring holistically for your employees and not just seeing them as you do a service, I give you a paycheck. Because we're seeing is that it's just too competitive of a market today to try to get good employees and keep good employees. So now, would you agree, it's kind of more like how can we holistically help them in life? And if we do, then they're more apt. I'm sure that's probably the business angle. They're more apt to stay because they feel like that company cares and they're actually helping them reach a dream.
Yeah, I think it's hard because it's so competitive right now. Wages are going way up. And what I've learned in the construction world is you can walk away from a job on Thursday and go get a new job on Friday. And it's hard work. It's really hard work. Harder work than I've ever done in my life. I watch these guys do.
And so how many days a week do you pour?
Right.
So let me see your hands.
Right, exactly.
Do you have concrete? You don't have concrete hands yet, do you?
No, I don't. You literally walk into, and we joke about it because we'll shake people's hands, and I've heard them say, "Oh, you've got really soft hands."
Supple.
Yeah.
Your hands are supple.
Yeah, baby hands. But my point is, these guys work so hard. And there was probably a time when the whole idea was we're going to keep it professional. We're going to talk about work at work. You're going to leave your home life at home. Those days are gone. You bring your whole self to work. And you don't have the luxury of ignoring entire parts of people's lives because
those change.
They're so interchanged. And we've always known that. We've never had to really, I think, never really had to reckon that truth in your business. So
do you almost feel like, first off, congrats.
Oh, thanks.
It's awesome. And it's a fascinating concept too. And I think you're perfect for it. I wonder, I would talk about the concept over the last 10 years. For a while they picked on millennials because they're like, okay, when they come to work, they want to feel purpose. They want to feel a part of something bigger than themselves. I almost wonder if this is the more human, raw side of what you said on the other side of quarantine of it doesn't matter what job you go into. Even from the business perspective, what is it we always say in leadership? And you capture someone's heart, you'll always have their hands. So it's almost like, would you say a business side of that? If people know that you care about them and that you're actually investing in their whole lives, you'll always have the hands work. I'm fascinated on the practical side. So what does it look like? Is it people come in? Is it mandatory?
Dream manage us.
Yeah, like, is it mandatory? What does the process look like?
Let me speak
Give
to
us a
two
little
things.
bit.
Let me
Yeah, yeah.
speak to the first thing that you said, and I'll speak to the second thing. I think what's been really unique about about this experience is it'd be really easy for a company like Thompson Concrete to say, "Hey, we did this. It's and it's going to be great," with the underlying motive of, "Oh God, we hope people stay."
Right.
But why it's going to work here is because it's not a gimmick. It's
Right.
not a trick. It's not a we read this book, let's do it. I came in and everybody at the leadership table had read the book.
Right.
And is ready and had been telling their guys about it. You can tell that there is an authentic we really want
Right.
we want your life we want you to
Flourish.
have the best life that you possibly can. And we're talking about spiritual things. We're talking about financial things. We're
Right.
talking about emotional things, physical things, like what time you wake up, how you're sleeping, how you're eating, all kinds of things like that. So it would not work if the motive
If it wasn't genuine.
authentic.
Yeah.
But the motive there, Scott and all the leaders there, Brad, Jay, all them, they're just their motives are right and they care about
Right.
their guys, and you can see through that crap.
Right.
So that's to the first point.
Yeah.
To the second point, I've been doing this for probably.
Man,
I got hired. My first day was December 6th. That was my first day. I just got back from a training in January, and it's a 1 year long program, and so we do it in small groups mostly. You can do them one-on-one, but you can do them in small groups too. That's part of what we'll do. So maybe we can do a dream session just right now between you
dream
guys.
session. Let's
Yeah.
do it.
Let me give you a couple little,
Yeah.
practical
Can
things.
I ask
like
you something
said,
back to the first point though?
Yeah.
Because, like you said, it's genuine, and I think obviously that's what matters anywhere you go. And in an ideal world, it's a Michael Scott win-win-win. You care about that person, they win, but then it's also. But the reason I ask is because you actually started it by the point of businesses are realizing that it's not sustainable to not care about it. So part of that implies that part of the motive originally to even think through that is, okay, the way that companies run is different.
yeah.
And so do you feel like, and knowing Scott, who's been a part of our community for a long time, that obviously oozes out of his heart, that genuine desire to help people. But that even made me wonder, like, what's the origin of how this came in, the book, the role? Was it an extension of, okay, this is what Scott's always wanted to do, but come out of a role? Or is it part of construction industry has realized we've got to do something different?
Yeah, I think Scott kind of got the book, and he'll tell the story this way. Maybe we can have him on here one day. I was
That'd
telling
be
him the
cool.
other day. But he gets books all the time, as we all do. Read this one, read this one, read this one. But he got the same book within the same week twice. And two people that mean a lot to him, gave him the book. He's like, "Oh, this is one I better read," because just the timing of it. So he read it, loved it, and it turns out the attorney for the janitorial company is Scott's attorney. So it's
wait,
Thompson's attorney, I
Wait,
should say.
so the book, that janitorial company, is that a real story?
So
Or is that like
it's
one of
a-
those, we tell a story,
It's
a
a real
parable kind of
company,
deal?
and that is where the concept started. But they added in some stories from some other places
Okay.
as well. So it's like one of those Patrick Lencioni.
That's what I was
he
wondering.
even wrote the foreword, Patrick Lencioni.
Okay.
did, but kind of mostly non-fictional
Based
fiction.
on a true story
based on
of
a
a
true
company, they fabricated some stuff to kind of make it a book.
Right.
Or
exactly.
a story in a book.
Exactly.
Okay, so the lawyer of the actual janitorial company that was
Yes.
inspired by
Yep, they're in
happens
Cincinnati,
to be
Ohio.
Scott's
Yep.
lawyer.
Happens to be the Thompson's attorney as well. We go through. So there was just all these connections.
That was it,
there.
yeah.
And so he got to ask some more questions and see if it was viable for the company.
Hmm.
And once and Scott's real great about, and the team is real great about sharing their opinions. And it's just one of those things that it wouldn't have gone down if everybody wasn't on board for it. Because it's not about me. But the cool thing is, in my role is, I get to come in and my job's not concrete.
It's not set in stone.
Right.
It's
Exactly.
what do you mean it's not concrete?
Right. And
Or
you
it's
never
not
want to
concrete.
take concrete for granted.
Sorry.
For granted. Listen.
For granted.
So,
I'm with you.
But my job is to help these guys and cheerlead on what they do. It's not like I have to, my crew need to get pour more or do better or get. I just get to come into this space and love on people no matter where they're from. There's just lots of different situations. There's people with 4 years of construction management and 12 years in the business, and then there's people who don't even have a high school diploma and
Yeah.
can barely read. No joke. People from the refuge, that have come through,
Yeah,
and how
they've
they're
done a lot,
managing people. It's really cool. And so it's just unique in that way. So that's why I think it's going to work. Practically, let's get into this because I want to.
Ask us some stuff.
Okay, so I already said 12 months. It's one time a month I meet with this case, it'd be like a small group. So the three of us would meet. You guys would be going through together because you work on the same team or however you guys are friends at work, whatever. You guys trust each other. So 12 months, one time a month for an hour to an hour and a half.
Voluntary or mandatory?
Voluntary.
Okay.
Voluntarily mandatory. I'm just kidding.
Voluntary, but you get paid for it.
You get paid for it.
So
Yep.
most people are volunteering.
It's great. It's warm in my office.
Yeah,
Make
exactly.
it nice. I'll get some snacks in there. But
Wait,
listen,
you don't lead all of these small groups, do you?
Yeah.
All of them.
Me.
He has a lot of employees at his company.
Yeah, there's 280, depending on the
That's just
how
here in
many
Columbus.
jobs we got going on.
That's just in Columbus.
Yep, we got Louisville, Kentucky,
You got
West Virginia,
Cincinnati, Dayton area.
Cincinnati, Dayton area, almost.
But here, 280.
Yeah,
okay.
280.
I can't
Lock
wait.
Warren
So
Road.
you might be hosting a lot of small groups real
Yeah,
soon.
that's a lot
Okay.
of small groups. But so the whole idea is we have, before we start our first meeting, we have what's called a dreamstorm session, brainstorm,
Dreamstorm.
session, right? Dreamstorm, where we have kind of 12 prompts, couple questions we can ask that'll help you write your list of dreams all the way out to 100 dreams.
I did it last night because you mentioned it, so I went home and I
Did you
wrote
really?
100 dreams.
Did you really?
No, are you kidding me? That was so hard.
Yeah, I'm stuck at like 37, but the practice.
You want me to
is
give you
good.
some?
Well, that is it's great how people can help you, but let's for the sake of keeping the conversation interesting, let's get but you start with 100 dreams, and this dreamstorm session is an attempt to get the dreams flowing.
Okay.
Okay, and we ask things like, "Where's one place you love to go?"
Russ?
Australia.
I thought
Okay.
you were going to say South Africa.
I'll be there next month.
Is that where you're going? Okay.
South Africa?
Is it South Africa? Is that where you're
South
going?
Africa.
Yeah,
but
he's
not
going
out.
to
Carolina.
Africa next
Oh,
month.
that's cool.
Might get stuck there, COVID.
Where do you want to go?
Fiji.
Fiji?
Yeah, I don't really want to make the trip, but man, when you see the pictures of those huts over that blue water, I mean, who doesn't want to go to Fiji?
Yeah. What's one thing about your character that you dream to be?
Character that you dream
More
to
consistent.
be. Less consistent.
Right.
I'm just kidding. About say it again. One thing about your character that you wish to be.
Call them character dreams.
So I don't know if this is a character thing. I want to be very perceptive to the people around me. I'm much more I'm just saying I'm much more like bring people around me, task what we do this, and very easy for me to not notice, oh, I think they're having a bad day. Just not picking up on that, the personal
Empathy. Empathy.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I'm growing a lot in empathy, but I think it's more about awareness. Maybe it's an awareness.
Okay.
Like,
Yeah.
stuff. So that'd be something I'd probably say.
I want to call my brothers more. I want to call them every day. Something I want to do.
Yeah, and me too. That's another one. I want to call my
Or check in with them once a
family
week
more
or something.
often. That's good.
Yeah, but things
I put
like
stuff
that.
like call my parents every day.
What's your dream car?
Wait, every day? That's cool.
What's your
That's
dream
what I
car?
want to do.
That's good. That's what I need to do.
Some people think that's weird. I don't think that's
Tesla.
weird. To call
What's
your
that?
parents every day.
Call your parents every day.
I
Every
actually was texting my dad today.
That's awesome.
It is awesome.
Check that off the
It is.
list.
Check it off the list. I texted him
you
today.
know.
We didn't talk about it. I texted him today.
You had your text
did.
your
It's
dad
not-
of the year.
That's what? No, it's probably for
It's
week.
not even Christmas.
Two.
Okay. So what's your dream car?
Tesla.
Specific. What color?
Ooh, black. Then whatever the newest model is.
Say it proud,
Model.
man. You've got to
Saying
whisper
Model
it.
black,
what?
newest model. I don't even know what the
like Tesla.
It'd probably,
Tesla.
Yeah. If it was a Tesla, it'd be a Model S.
Black.
And it would
Why?
probably be. I love the sporty Model S, and it would have to be dual motor.
Plaid?
Plaid. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Plaid with the
Model
three-motor.
S
We're
plaid.
dreaming here.
That would be one. I mean, if
We're
we
dreaming.
didn't go exotic sports car, but we're like, okay, one day it would
What's
be
your
awesome
dream
to
car?
own. That might be it. I mean, I've wanted a Tesla forever, and I can't buy it as long as your dad continues to work at a Nissan dealership. But
I understand. I understand.
so then there's other levels of what it would be. Now, if we're talking about dream beyond that, there would be other things that I would probably look at too. But someday I could see that a Model S plaid.
Okay. This is good. House. kind of house
I'm
do you want
good.
to live in? You're good? You're in your
If
dream? That's fine.
anything, no. Dream would be to one day soon, maybe not soon, sell it, build something smaller.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stage the life where Audrey moves out. It's my wife and I. We're gonna build something smaller, but it's new again. We once built that house. It's been 10 years old. It's still a good house, so, but new, so I don't have projects.
Absolutely.
I'm finishing the basement still. I'm laying the floor right now. I'm super close to being done. I am. I know you don't believe me.
No.
I'm so close.
I believe you.
I am so close. I'm going to have the flooring done
believe
in
you.
the next 2 weeks,
You're so-
and then putting the trim up, and I'm done.
This is why you're financially
Other than the
better than
bathroom,
me, 'cause
other
I'm
than the
like,
bathroom,
I'm
then
doing
I'll
the
be done
freaking
soon.
floor.
Yeah.
Well, I paid for
So
the
pretty
floor.
much you don't have a dream.
exactly.
I'd love
A house?
a large 2-story home, pretty modern,
Just do first
mostly
floor master.
whites, hardwood floors.
First floor
room
master.
I'm so sorry.
Get a first floor
Whose-
master.
Whose dream is this?
Get a first floor master.
Whose dream is this?
Where do you want?
Because
that's
of how
right.
old you are.
I don't agree with
get,
first floor
Get a
master.
first floor master.
I don't
Because
agree
how
with
old
it.
you are. You're young. You still can't. Trust me. Because one day, the kids, they're going to start moving out, and all of a sudden, you're really glad you don't have to go upstairs.
Yep. One day
Okay.
you're gonna want to sell your house and downsize anyway.
He sells
so
all the time. You may not.
that's true.
We may end up staying where we are.
I
And
got
we
my
can
realtor's
just-
license, by the way,
we-
everybody out there. If you
Oh,
want
that's nice.
to
We
sell your
can
house,
just, we
so,
literally,
as we're talking about houses,
our point was
small
we'll
plug.
just shut down the upstairs. It's on separate thermostat, and we just live downstairs.
See, we're
See, we
blogging
did
off
it on
the dream
purpose.
session
We were
right here.
thinking.
This is about
We are.
Russ's dream.
Yeah, thank
Sorry,
you.
Russ's
Thank
dream.
you.
2-story, first floor master.
So a large, basement master.
What?
I'm just trying to say something different than you.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean, I have a lot of aesthetic ideas
There
in
you
my
go.
mind that would be hard. Yeah, but anyways,
Love it.
The whole idea of his dreams is get them specific. Write them down.
Yes.
Write what
Yeah.
you want, because this is the idea.
Okay.
Dreams aren't dreams without a strategy. Dreams are just wishes, wishful thinking. Until you put a plan to it and go, okay,
Amen.
when can we start doing this? And so the whole idea is write down the list of what concerts do you want to attend? Have you ever thought about, is there a concert? Is there an event?
I'm
Is
actually
there
going to one. Elevation Worship's going to be in town, and I bought
Nice.
tickets, so,
Nice.
and you're going with me.
yeah. My dream.
That's
crazy. I
Because
must have missed that
my,
text
my long
message.
Yeah,
hope
I didn't think you'd want to go.
bucket list, and on there is I want to go to Lost Week in Hawaii one day. That's like my dream event.
What, Lost Week, you said?
It's called Lost Week.
Hawaii. Another one of my dreams. Since we're talking dreams.
Why are you guys whispering, man? This
I'm
is
I
the
went, to,
whole
I went to
dreaming.
Hawaii once, but I want to go in the winter to. Well, I've heard there's even a better place, but to the North Shore, where the massive waves come in. It's in December.
Yep.
Like that's on my bucket list. That's not even just a dream. That's on my bucket list. I went to Hawaii this past year, and it was awesome. We loved it, loved it, loved it.
This is
But
great.
when I go back, I want to go in the winter. I want to go to North Shore, and I want to see 30, 40, 50-foot waves.
Yeah.
That's on my bucket list.
I actually
Hands down.
invested in my dream event, the other dream event, and too much money.
Reykjavik.
In October, I'm going to Las Vegas to attend the When We Were Young Warped Tourish concert that went viral. They ended up having to add 3 or 4 days to. Some people were worried at first it was going to be like the Netflix documentary of the
fire
or the Astro World event, but I don't know if you heard of it. It's pretty much any 2000s kid that was ever into punk rock or emo. It's literally all of those bands, 12 stages all across Las Vegas, a full day event. It cost, you had to be put on a wait list to even be considered to buy a ticket. And I got confirmation last week that I actually got a ticket.
That's awesome.
Way too much money. But that was a dream event.
Okay, what about for family or relationships? Do you have any dreams as far as your family or your relationship?
Probably okay, so dream is, because I've already seen this a little bit. My oldest is married now and comes back, and one day I'm sure my youngest will. Dream though, because I see this, is that they and someday they'll have families of kids, but they just will want to come over to our house on the regular, like almost like once a week or once every week. Like we're gonna go hang out, and it happens quite often. But that's that's like one of our favorite
great.
things to do.
That's great.
So
Love it.
we might have to put a pool in someday just to attract them to stay.
Exactly.
I'm serious. Like
My
that's
in-laws
something we
did
talk
that,
about.
and it works.
Does it really?
It works. Absolutely.
Yeah, would love being married and have kids.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
How many kids? No, I'm just kidding. You can tell me later.
2.
You got to talk with
or
a
3.
significant other about that.
Yeah.
But these are the ideas. Is how
Okay.
can you get them going? Like one of the things.
So we did 100 of these. This is great.
I want to get golf lessons. I want to
Oh, I can
buy a
give you
new
that.
set of golf clubs.
I'll sell you
I've
mine.
had your golf lessons. They're
I'll
not working
sell
too
you
well.
mine. I'll sell you mine. That's why I don't need
I
them
want
anymore.
new golf clubs.
I don't need them anymore.
He's like, I need to buy more floor for my basement.
I'll sell them.
Yeah, but these are things that I'd love to do, and they're not always realistic. Dreams aren't about being realistic. Dreams are about dreams. And so they excite you. There's something that's vulnerable about it. You guys both started whispering to each other like you weren't proud of them. I was like,
Mine was more of a
I wanna
dramatic
buy
whisper.
Tesla.
Mine was yeah.
But my point is that there's something vulnerable about it. There's something innocent about it. It's something that connects us to our childhood, makes us think big, makes us think. Not that we should live our whole life and just, do nothing but try to buy the house that we want to build. But at the same time, let's pick about 4 of them. And so that's what this whole idea is. Let's pick 4 target dreams from that dream list.
Is there a
of 100.
particular way that you target your 4 dreams?
Yeah, I mean,
Is it kind of bad to like, I got 4 professional
was it
dreams.
sort of
You
what you
just
said,
ignored your
character?
so we
family
do, there's
dreams. That's not
professional
gonna-
dreams too. We didn't get there.
But that's not
you
going
know?
to do. But that's not going to make you fulfilled in life, probably, right?
Well,
it was,
right, and the whole idea is not to make you fulfilled in life. You know,
No.
you're not going to find your fulfillment from,
Sure.
from getting the job that you've always wanted. But
Right, you're right.
the collection of things is it'll make you a
pull you
happier
forward.
person. Absolutely, that's what life's about. Is God gives you these things in your heart, so go after them. There's this one really cool story I'll insert before we get into how you pick the dreams. There's this, I learned this at the conference. This company goes through and I can't remember exactly what they were doing. It's some sort of janitor-like company, or maybe it was a restaurant. It was a restaurant. That's right. And he was a busser, and he would bus tables, and he was a part of this Dream Manager program. Making $7 to $8 an hour, or whatever bussers make right now. And in his Dream Manager thing, one of his professional dreams was he always wanted to learn how to DJ. And so that was one of his 4 target dreams, was to learn how to DJ. And so he learned how to DJ, and one of the ways he would do it is he would go to this place and he'd watch this guy DJ, and they're one of the really great people in their area, kind of, not famous, but famous in that
so it's not
area.
DJ Khaled.
Right. Okay. And he ended up buying a piece of equipment here and there, and because it was part of the strategy. How do I learn? I got to buy the equipment. I got to save up. Got to do that. And all of a sudden, he goes to watch this guy, because it was part of the strategy. If you want to DJ, then you got to find somebody to model after. He goes to see this guy, and the guy never showed up. And so everybody at the
What are we going to do?
at this place, like, what are we going to do? And he gets up there and says, all his stuff was there because he sets up every night. He's like, well, I can do it. I know how to do this, because he was ready. So Dream Manager's waiting. He comes in for his 6th session. And he goes, I'm sorry, this will be our last session because I put in my 2 weeks notice yesterday. And I'm like, oh my gosh, is everything okay? Why are you upset? And they're like, no, my dreams came true. So they saw me do it. Now I'm hired on to do that.
It backfired on them.
Yeah, right.
It backfired on the company.
But it it does, but it doesn't.
Yeah.
And when you know that.
Oh man, there's something about knowing you help somebody step into what their dream is that it's
you
hard
want someone to suffer in your
you're
because
talking
you
about
need
a
them.
bus, or you know what I mean. Like
Yeah.
it's you have to know some people in some roles in your organization. We know that it's like, and they may not want to stay in that forever, and they may not fit in someplace else in your organization. They may have to step into something else. That's okay.
Yep.
I want to support that and champion that.
And what does that do? That makes them tell their friends, hey, if you're looking for a place that cares about you, but you're just trying to do a college job, or you're trying to, you never know the kind of trickle down effect that's going to have as far as recruitment for people that that place cares.
Yeah,
and
right.
that word travels quick.
Yeah.
That's
cool.
The kind of things travel quick, and we all know that the bad things travel quick too.
Yeah.
And so it's really good. So we'll get into a dream session. We'll do 100 dreams. You guys pick your 4 target dreams. We'll do like a professional dream. We'll do a long-term dream. We'll do a short-term dream. We'll do one of your choice, okay, an adventure dream, whatever it ends up being. Okay, so let's lay them out. The dream sessions go like this. We go through the 4 concepts that are in this Rhythm of Life book, and they're just very simple. You don't have to read the book to know the concepts. We'll start and we'll do a stoplight system: green light, yellow light, red light. Green being good, yellow being red being bad, of 4 areas of your life. How are you doing physically? How are you doing emotionally? How are you doing mentally? How are you doing spiritually? Or not mentally, there's one I skipped. Financially. It's not emotionally and mental are the same thing. Financially, and how are you doing spiritually? And so we'll go through, and how are you doing physically?
Good.
Tim?
I mean, I'm dealing with a little bit of congestion, but I did work out this morning.
Okay, work out. How's your sleep?
Good.
Yeah?
I mean, I go to sleep, and then I wake up, and that's about it.
Yeah, I know you talked a lot on this podcast about how you go to sleep so late. I mean,
do.
have you been working on that, or?
I mean, I don't know. We had a late night last night, so I didn't go to bed. But I went to bed pretty quick. I went to bed by about 11 something. I got up at I don't know, 5 something. I can't remember what
Yeah.
it was, late, whatever. So,
So
I
would
mean,
you
I'm
give
getting
yourself a
6
green
hours.
light?
I'm getting about 6 hours.
Green light, yellow light, red light for you.
I mean, I don't think it's a problem, but probably yellow. I mean, because I think I probably could get more sleep, but I don't know. I got animals that wake me up. My stupid dog woke me up at 3:45 to go outside.
When you
This
say
is why you don't have a dog.
that is horrible.
It is horrible. It happens every day.
Yeah.
He-
Still, and
every
your
day.
dog's like 100.
Oh, every day. 5 o'clock in the morning, he comes in, he whines, he wakes me up. I mean, I get interrupted sleep, so I blame it on the dog.
Yeah.
It's a yellow because of that.
Okay, so what's one thing you could do to move that into the green?
Get rid of the dog.
It's
That's probably not an option. Okay,
stop
that would.
gi-
I'm
it's like,
sorry. That
stop-
would.
Stop giving him his insulin.
Yes, that would move it into the green. We're not going to do that. I've already asked my wife, and we are going to care for him to the end of his days.
Good for you.
He probably doesn't have that many left.
Okay, so what's one way you're going to get into the green?
Oh, besides that,
Yeah.
See, I could say sleep in later, but I really like getting up earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So my only other alternative is to go to bed earlier.
Yeah. Why don't
That's
you want to go
awful.
to bed earlier?
I don't know. Usually don't want to fight it.
Yeah, for sure.
I fight it. Maybe because, a lot of times my wife and I were, by the time we do
Whoa.
whatever, I'll just do it. No, not that. I'm just saying, like, we'll watch a show. We'll do whatever. We'll lay in bed. Sometimes we'll watch a show, like,
Yeah.
late at night or do whatever. And so so one of the things is she's not a morning person at all. Like, not at all. So much so that she's spent her whole career working nights. So she's a night person. And which means that she tends to be up later than I am. I usually go to bed before she does. And so maybe to turn it green, I could force her to go to bed earlier.
I'll let you think on it.
Okay, anyway, so yeah, what about you?
What about
Let's
you
talk about
physically?
somebody else.
How
I
are
don't
you
like
doing
dreams
physically?
managing right now.
I like this.
I would say I'd be a yellow because
Yeah,
well,
why?
I think the green
I mean,
is
why? You don't have a dog.
okay. This is not your dream session part. I have over the last couple of months really got back in the rhythm of working out pretty consistently. I've been eating pretty healthy consistently. I've lost some weight, put on hopefully a little bit muscle. The yellow would be because I just keep putting off doctor's appointments. Like I have dermatology appointments he gives me a hard time. So I've had doctor's appointments I just keep putting
Well, it's
off.
because
that
you
I
keep
finally need
asking me to
go.
pray for situations. I tell you I'm not going to pray for until you go to the
know.
doctor.
Yeah, I don't have an excuse. I know.
It's like, I prayed for this. You need to go see the doctor. I know. I
Okay.
know.
So is that getting into the green for you?
To get in the green would be to make the appointment.
Okay.
So
What's holding you back from making the appointment?
fear,
Yeah.
So
Do you in your sessions then? Because this is all you. You love this stuff. And this is what you love to do.
This is me,
This is
isn't it?
totally you. You just love to. Do you then, like in a psychological way, dive in even further every time? So if he says in there fear, and you go, well, okay, well, you need to probably go, or do you like, well, let's talk about your fears?
Well, so the whole point of my role is to be a non-judgmental third party. So if you want to live the rest of your life in the yellow, you can live the rest of your life in the yellow and never go to the doctor's appointment. I think we all know that you probably should go to your doctor's appointment, and you there's probably a way for you to find out.
see what you're doing here.
There's probably a way for you to find out how to fall asleep earlier. You just don't want to because you like watching the shows.
Yeah.
But we could talk about the 3 things that will be different if you want to wake up. But if you don't want to, some people get 3 hours of sleep and that's how they like it.
Yeah.
It's not my job.
It doesn't bother me. I don't ever use it as an excuse. Like, man,
Yeah.
I just don't get enough sleep. To me, it just doesn't matter. I get up. Let's go.
If it doesn't matter for you, then let's talk about another area of
move
your
on.
physical health.
Yeah.
But my job is to be non-judgmental. I'm just here to let's have the conversation
Yeah.
and
Help
I'm not,
them arrive.
I'm not here to fix your problems. Let's get in a rhythm of you thinking about your
That's cool.
life and not me telling you, because my right's not going to be your right. And that's the difference between pastoring and this, is that when you're pastoring, people come to you for the right thing. What's God want me to do here?
Yeah.
I mean, if people want pastored, they can come to me at work and I'll help give my more pastoral advice. But the dream manager thing is not for me to pastor
Sure.
them.
Sure.
It's not for me to come and tell them the next right things. Let's have the
It's
conversation.
to present it in front of them.
Yeah.
Let them see it through conversation, and then the action item becomes so obvious.
They're gonna decide what they want.
They got to decide: do I go see a doctor or not?
Yeah. So if I were you, I'd
Just use it as an example.
It's not
when
like
you look at
I'm
that.
going to send an email to you tomorrow morning as your dream manager,
Yeah.
reminding you.
Nah.
No,
That'd
you
be
want
your-
to put a calendar
that'd be your dream
invite in your own
babysitter.
thing, and right, I'm not babysitting you,
No.
and I can't with and that's the whole idea. Is let's get this is why it's voluntary, because if you want to do this, then you can do it.
That's good.
You know, building the habit. So let's talk about spiritually. Spiritually, how's it going?
Good.
We'll start with Russ first.
Yeah.
Green, yellow, red.
I'd say green.
'Kay.
I'd say it's a good season.
Why?
I feel like it's been a season where God and I have connected on a really deep friendship level, and there's been a lot of moments. There's just been a lot of sweet moments with God, and a lot of ups and downs. But I feel like this season, even more than the last few, I have run to and clung to God in the middle of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. How you going to keep it in the green?
Rhythms of not just rhythms of the basics of scripture and prayer each day, but to keep doing what I've been doing the last couple of months, which is whatever I need to switch up in my routine to feel like I genuinely connected with God that morning. Whether it's okay, I'll get to my Bible in a minute, but first I'm going to sit until I really connect, until I've got everything on my heart. Whatever I need to do to keep those rhythms going of genuinely connecting with God.
What's one thing that pulls you away from that?
Shame at times. Sometimes if there's shame or busyness will cause me just to go through routine.
Makes sense. So what about you? Green, yellow, red, spiritually.
I'd probably say green.
Why?
Just a consistent. I feel so. I switched something. We had talked at the beginning of this year, and I switched to a reading plan of using my physical Bible, which did cost me my YouVersion streak because I wasn't using YouVersion. That really bothered me. But I switched to a. Why are you laughing? I switched.
That really does bother you.
It does bother me.
It really does.
I worked hard on that for 3 years. Okay,
Yeah.
but I switched to doing the one plan that you recommended,
yeah.
the 5, whatever, 5 days. But I just kind of keep going. I still use it pretty much every
no
day.
overachiever.
No, I mean I've gotten such a habit of trying to do it every day. There's some days I
Yeah.
didn't on Sundays if I early, but I even so and I feel like there's been a lot of fresh things that have kind of really feel like God's kind of spoken to me when just even in passages that have come to life and just things that have inspired me. And so I feel like that's been kind of a fresh new take on it this year. I'm reading a different translation. I'm doing all this. So it's just some of those things, and the consistency has been really good. And prayer times, and just like I've just been super encouraged by even the prayer nights that we've had here at the church. And we get together and pray once a week and some other things. And they've just been encouraging. I think in general, I guess spiritually, there's the disciplines, but I think overall, I feel like I'm just in a kind of a sweet season of I don't know, of just my walk with God, the experience, because it's really hard because it's connected sometimes to what I do. But even in that, I just have felt like there's, again, this sounds a little weird to me, but just like I felt like an anointing when it comes to whether it's preaching things and doing things. And I think a lot of times that, and not always, I don't want to, it's not a comparing, or how good was this, or how good, or it wasn't good as a message or whatever. But I think that there are seasons where you just feel, and I think that comes from more of the personal things that God is doing in me and less of just, skill. It's not skill. When there's changes and things that, of a message that I'm bringing, or the way it comes, or this, it usually has more to do with the development of what God is doing inside of me. And so I feel like for the last couple of years, I've been on this real emotional health kind of like internal processing, and I'm still doing that and processing a lot of different things. And I feel like that is helping me become. It's weird because it's like it's kind of spiritual, but it also relates to people relationally, and so I feel like I've become a very different person over the last 2 years because. But I think it's not just because I'm reading the Bible every day, but I really feel like because there's something deep that God is working in me. Like I'm far more empathetic than I ever was before. I even just in with family or relationships, they tell me something, the first thing that I'm responding with, and it's not like I tried to practice it, is a response of empathy.
Right.
Oh, I'm so sorry you're dealing with this.
Instead of a fix.
Before it was a fix.
Right.
And that's not just from training, but it's just from me. Well, it's some, but it's just I mentioned this word awareness. I become more aware. So one thing I said, I was like, what's a dream? I want to be more aware of people's things. And so I think I am becoming that. And through that, that's how it's coming to light. And I see myself doing it. First, it was a little bit of a discipline, but I also just see it naturally happening now. And I'm now going, gosh, it must be awful to be dealing with what you're dealing right now. I'm so sorry you're dealing with this. And I don't even know, like, as a 3 achiever, this is me, like, I'm like, half the time when I do, I'm like, what good is me saying that?
Right.
How was I helping them? I'm so sorry. But then I find out, like, other people, like, that it does help you connect to them. And they do, like, for me, it's like, I feel like I'm doing it for them, not for me. But I'm like, I guess it's valuable. So I have to tell myself, I guess that's valuable, so I better do it. But it's becoming more natural.
Yeah.
And I think I'm starting to see people's situation and their experience from their shoes that I don't think before I would. And so I feel I put all that under the umbrella of spiritual. It might be emotional.
Yeah.
I know you list that. So some
Sounds
of that's
like you need to write all
crossover.
that down and how you're processing that.
I am,
Yeah.
in a way. I'm really, trust me, it's not going anywhere.
You should word vomit all that
It's,
on a page.
yeah.
Because it's good. It's really good.
That's just it's for me trying to put into language what I'm feeling internally of what I'm going through right now.
By the way, that's part of a dream manager is write that down.
Really?
Write that down.
That's cool.
Write that down. How about this? Let me just contextualize it for me. I think a lot of times what gets in the way of my spirituality being, quote unquote, in the green is my interactions with people. And that there's certain situations that come up in my life that pull me from not just time. I think the easy answer, and sometimes it's true. What keeps you in the yellow spiritually is, I didn't get to bed on time, or I watched too many shows with my wife, or I'm just kidding. Or
no, I didn't say because then you didn't get up and you didn't designate
So
time to
sometimes
connect
it
with
is.
God. It absolutely is
sometimes
connected.
I forgot to set my alarm clock, or I always leave my phone unplugged, and I never wake up on time. My kids, and you get better sleep. Like for me, there's a lot of times that's true.
But the people thing's huge.
Yeah, but what situations do you find yourself in that pull you into the yellow
Yeah.
Oh,
that you can stay away from?
You're asking.
Yeah. So this month,
Of what
before
kind
we
of
get
what?
together next month,
Of what?
what is what are some situations with people that
with people.
that pull you from the green?
For me, it's hard to say what the practical solution would be because sometimes it's internal.
Sure.
Sometimes it's, a lot of times it's internal. It's when this past week I found myself, I know if I've had 2 or 3 conversations with that person in my head in a week in my apartment, I'm like, yeah, I'm frustrated. Frustration when you feel like situations are misrepresented or your heart's misunderstood, and the frustration that can come in that you find yourself, you're like, oh, okay, I think I'm starting to have a seed of anger towards that person. My buddy was telling me the other day that his son was being picked on, and he took his son aside and just gave him some practical advice, but just reminded him, said, son, what I do when I'm really frustrated with somebody is I actually move their name to the top of my prayer list and pray for them more than anybody else. And I was like, I'm not 5, but I needed that reminder. I tell people, the power of praying for people, but for me, that was a practical thing I did about a week ago, that I put a couple people's names at the top of my prayer list.
So would you say conflicts with people?
Conflicts, yeah.
Yeah. That can either invoke, anger, frustration, misunderstanding, jealousy. For me, these are things that.
Yeah.
What would you say?
Probably the same thing. I think conflicts. I think too, finding out that I disappointed somebody. So I don't know how that fits, but that's one of those things that it's like, oh, they're upset or they're disappointed because I didn't do this or I didn't do that or I said this or I shouldn't have said that or whatever it might be. And so then I think sometimes then I internalize and go, what did I screwed it up or I messed it up or why did I fail their expectations? And I should, because I have such a sense of I want to meet the expectation that you have of me. And so I think probably maybe that.
Yeah, that's good.
I don't know.
Thanks for sharing that. So I think that, as a dream manager, what I'd say next step is, let's talk about a conflict. We don't have to do this right now on a microphone, but if we were in a room, we would. What's one conflict we can take a step to
Yeah.
solve a conflict today. Let's keep in the green. Because it's bothering you more than we'd like to let on for
Sure.
you. Let's talk about the two sides of letting people down. Let's talk about the unfair expectation side, and let's talk about maybe we should have done that side,
Right.
and let's balance that out. So
Yeah.
that's the green. Let's talk about we'll skip financially for the point of this conversation. Let's talk about emotionally. Where we at? Red, yellow, green.
Can I say orange?
Is it yellow, red?
Yeah. No.
Yeah. That'd be yellow red. I'm with you.
I
mean,
just yeah.
orange.
It's in between
Yep,
yellow
I
and
meant
red.
green. I meant green.
I meant
I meant green. I just
it was
really
like,
failed
can
the
I
color
say-
wheel right
Can
there.
I say purple?
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you can.
You
but
can.
It's not.
Fuchsia.
Pass.
We'll come back to you. Let's
Yeah.
go to you.
No, I just
emotionally.
thought that would.
Let's
be what
talk.
would
I want to talk
justify.
to 2 threes about emotion,
Oh,
except for your 4
Wing.
with a 3-wing.
Wing 4.
Okay.
emotion.
Yeah. Emotionally, green,
I'd say it's pretty-
yellow,
I-
red.
He's
I
like,
would-
what
I
is
would
emotion?
Say, I would say I've been green, close to green. If not, I mean, I feel like I've been in a fairly healthy. I feel like I go in cycles, and I'm very aware of it. If you would have asked me 2 months ago, I would have probably said yellow. And there were things and I've had a couple conversations with a counselor since. And I do feel like it helps me because I'm such a processor and a thinker that the way a counselor really helps me is asking me the questions and talking about it helps me process why, and when I can, then I can kind of get to some resolution and so I feel like right now I would probably say green emotionally. I feel like I'm in a pretty good place, but it does feel like it's like I'm green now. I could be yellow next week.
Right.
I mean, it doesn't
Right.
take a lot. I mean, it does,
Or
but
maybe sometimes like the next hour.
yeah.
Yeah, if I'm looking at the overall of the last, I don't know, weeks or days, I don't know. I would say mostly green with shades of yellow from a couple areas of either frustration or disappointment.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a couple areas of like frustration and or disappointment that creep into the green.
Yeah. So, let's get specific. I mean, what couple areas
Well, it's always about people, right? So,
for you?
yeah, for me. Well, yeah. So, I just have a
So it is not acceptable to talk about on the open mic podcast is what he's trying to say.
No, I'm just trying to
Yeah.
allude to the fact that for you it's people. For some people, it's not always people. Some people it's trauma, or past or fear, or
I think if I ever have it emotionally, I would say 8 times out of 10, 9 times, it's connected to relational with people. Is what I would say. It's not usually past or those or some I'd say emotional, like when I feel like it's pulled maybe some of the challenges of what I need to do in my seat or leading the organization or dealing with something or whatever.
Yeah.
But I'd say majority of even that ends up. I just feel like we're not only that, but what we do, and even what you're doing now in the role. I mean, like you're not doing the concrete, you're doing people.
Right.
All 3 of us at the table. Our profession is people.
Yep.
So and again, that doesn't necessarily equate to just your own personal life, but I do think that we all deal with people, and so it probably becomes the biggest.
Yeah. No,
instigator
that's
of
good.
it.
And so my next question would obviously be, we'll move on for the sake of conversation,
Yeah.
but every month we're going to have this part of the conversation, which is we're going to run through and hopefully as we go, and we're going to go deeper and deeper, and you actually get a list at the very end of the 12 months, and we go through every week of you were green here, yellow here, red here, or whatever, and you can see side by side what's the one thing you're going to do, what's the one thing you're going to do, what's the one thing you're going to, so you can look back and go, here are all the things that I started doing.
That's
It
really
just
cool.
felt little by
Yeah.
little,
Isn't that cool?
but at the end of it, look how many changes I made. Yeah, that's right. I did stop doing that, or I did start doing that, or I did, I just went on 10-minute walks because I feel like I sit down all day, or whatever it is. And you got to start to see the little progress. And that conversation, that both your eyes are starting to get watery, and it's not because of me; it's because of what you guys shared. You act like your eyes never do, but every time they do, glassy eyes,
Mine
which
are
is
not
great.
glassy right now.
But my point is that you start at work, you get to bring these things in. It's totally confidential with me. I'm not going to go share it with anybody.
We just did. Okay, never mind.
Right,
Yeah.
but I'm not going to share it. I would have pushed in a lot harder if it were no mics here. I promise. But we start to do that. That's the first part of every conversation. That's going through the rhythm of life framework. And for more helpful tips on how to improve in those 4
How do
areas,
you
can
do
read the
all
book.
of that in an hour with a full small group of people?
I'd stop you. That's an hour and a half.
Is it?
I'd say let's move on.
But you also
it
do
was very
other-
interesting. So
but
let's
you do
keep
other
talking.
things. It is fascinating.
Yeah. So about half of it is that. About
Okay.
half of it is let's talk about how we're going to accomplish those 4 target dreams. And so
What's your next step? You can
yeah, so there's emotional mastery, physical mastery. There's all of it's involved in money in your dreams. We have 2 months on that. We talk about how to plan. Some people's dreams to get out of debt. Some people's dreams to invest in real estate. There's so many dreams.
cool.
So yeah, that's
That's fun. You're a life coach.
Yeah,
You're
life
helping
coach.
people figure out how to take steps
Yeah.
toward their dream.
Yep. So hopefully people can get a visual of, or just a real life reenactment of how, and this is why, just personally, I think it made sense for me, because a lot of what I was doing was, I just, it sounds martyrish, but I think I want to, everybody wants to just be in God's will and follow God and like, okay, God, whatever you want me to do. And somehow I just want to help people and encourage people. And so for a short season, I think it's through the podcast. Who knows, it might be that again soon. But for me, it's been a great way to get around people again. Instead of being holed up in my office and talking to a microphone all day and trying to promote yourself all day, it's like I'm freaking exhausted. Like, I just don't know if I can keep this up. It's too lonely. But to be around people and people who I'm learning so much from, and
That's cool.
and Scott and everybody, and still be able to be here, it's been fun. So
It's awesome.
That is awesome.
Yep.
So, how's the Dream Manager doing?
Dream Manager's doing good, interesting. We life transitions are always crazy, so we're not over that. We're not through the woods there. For God to so abruptly move me on, from what I was doing here, it's like still. I call it squirming. I feel like I'm squirming. Like I know God's doing something in me, and it's like I'm just letting it happen. Just trying to not reacting to one thing or the other. And it's very uncomfortable. I think when God does some deep things inside of you, it's very uncomfortable. But we've been very open about our journey of anxiety and depression, me and Andrea, and that's gone up and down and side to side, every which way. It's been really intense at some points. It's been really good at some points. So yeah, just navigating all that. So
So, like in the category, since I'm a pastor, in the category of spirituality, are you green light, yellow light, red light?
Yellow.
Yellow?
Yeah.
Do you know why you're yellow?
Aware that God's doing something.
Okay.
But feel
Yeah.
very much. I'm at a point where I'm like, I'm angry that I don't know what God's up to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And nothing, you never know. As soon as you think you know exactly what God has in front of you, you never really do.
Yeah.
Then it'd be your plan, not His. But going, going, God, what in the world? What is that about? What is that about? Why are we struggling with that again? You know what?
Yeah.
And so I'm working through a lot of that with Him, and it's interesting, and total transparency. It's just weird to. It's weird to be
Attend events.
at a member of the church,
Yeah.
and it's very strange. It's, and to love all the people and look up here and be so, glad and thankful. And I'm still a part, I know I'm still a part and I'm still a contributor, but this is what I spent my life doing, and, you see the people up on the stage. I'm like, man, I'm so thankful I got to, work with that person and hire that person, and start that. And, it was in the room when we talked about pop-up church, for example, and,
which we still haven't done, but we'd love to someday.
but my point is these things that
You'd be
it's
a
like,
part of them.
wow, it's really cool.
Yeah.
And the stuff that I loved, and I love other things too, but it's just fascinating. So it's uncomfy.
Uncomfy.
It's not,
Well,
it's not comfortable. But God's been very good.
I do think that one really cool thing is just that the role that you're stepping into really does feel like, even if it's for a season or knows how long, it does feel like something where you can, in many ways, use what I think you are good at doing to help people and to encourage people. And I know
appreciate
Scott and the environment they create, including your faith. in
Oh,
that
yeah.
journey. And I know them very much so and what they do. And so I'm excited. I do think it's a really great fit
Yeah.
for what you're
Appreciate
doing,
it.
at least for season,
Yeah.
for what you're doing. And
Yeah, appreciate
even if
it.
it's uncomfy.
It is. I do want to, I have a microphone, do a quick thank you to everybody at our church who has and even, even the church itself, but just has financially supported us.
Yeah.
We have had, God's just been so good working through people
Wow.
to do these things that are, I'm like, I can't believe it.
Yeah.
And so, and I just feel like I got to say it on the microphone. Thank you so much. People who aren't, some people who have the means and some people who just gave in like faith to me and our family. Like,
Wow.
it may not look like, but you guys have just transformed my faith forever and sustained us more than you know. I think emotionally.
Yeah.
And there's been so many other things going. We've never had to worry about money.
That's awesome.
Ever.
I love that.
And we've been blessed, and that has been a huge difference for our family. So I just could never thank people enough. For
And
Yeah.
at the end of the day, what you hopefully also recognize is that God is the source behind all that.
Oh,
Because He
yeah.
inspired them. And so I
Oh,
think it's just
yeah.
also, like you said, it inspired your faith, but also
Mhm.
reminds you that God, when He calls you to take a step, He also takes care of it.
Mm-hmm.
And He has.
It's hard, it's interesting. People, just like I said yes to something, those people said yes to
Yeah.
the prompting God put on their
Yeah.
heart.
Yeah.
And it's hard to say yes.
It
'cause
is.
Yes isn't, it's just
It's not
always
comfortable.
Yeah, it's not like woohoo. Like there might be a moment of it, but like, oh yeah, God has a plan for me. Wait a second, that's what you want me to do?
It's always exciting in the moment when you finally say yes, and then the
Mhm.
reality hits the next day when you wake up.
Yeah, there's a
You're like-
process you got to walk through. So
Well,
that's why dreams are important, right?
It is.
Right.
Well, thanks for coming back
Yeah,
on here
that's
and
awesome. Probably
really
good.
giving kind of an update too
Thanks,
for
guys, yeah.
why you haven't been on here. It has been so nice to have you back on here.
Appreciate it.
I really miss it. So
Appreciate
any chance
it.
that we get, we need to have you back
Yeah,
on here.
just down the road.
Well, that's awesome. Well, it's been a blast. I hope it's been helpful for all of
Yeah.
you that maybe are listening and are watching this, because I hope other people feel really inspired by this, because for me, I know it's great. Just someone asking the questions and forcing me to think, what are some dreams? Because I do think we can go through life without ever putting our dreams out there and ever taking a step.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll get to the end of our life and we'll think, I wish I'd done this. I wish maybe I should have tried this. And so if you need a dream manager, first of all, we could just say, get the book and read it.
Yeah, get the book
Right?
and read it.
Get the
Yep.
book and read it, and go work for Thompson Concrete, and you can have a dream manager that will help you. And so, anyways, I hope you've enjoyed this episode, and if it's been encouraging to you, let us know. If you want to send in a message, we'll get it to Kevin. You can send it to podcast@thex.church. And, of course, if you're on YouTube, why don't you just hit the like button? That's always nice.
Yeah.
There's always people that don't like, but it's nice when people hit like. And share it, maybe subscribe so you get for future updates. But anyways, thanks for joining us today. Until next time, have a good week.